Hi guys, my name is Stefan and I'm gonna be running this webinar today, this training session on how to migrate your existing training into the new academy that was launched last Monday. First of all, I just want to make sure that you can all hear me. I'm getting a thumbs up internally, but if you can do me a favor and write in the chat, just to be sure that everybody can actually hear. I get a loud and clear here and a bit more. Thank you very much. So just a few mentions before we start. We are recording, which means that you automatically, after this webinar, will receive both a replay option of the session and also the slides. So there are no special needs for taking notes or anything, because you'll get all the content, all the slides and everything afterwards. You will also be able to actually get duplicated academies if you write or support, and more on that later on. So without further ado, or a short mention, any questions you might have, you're more than welcome to post them during the session in the question tab that is on your right when you look at this webinar. I will go through it in a Q&A at the end. So in roughly half an hour, we should be at the end of this session, and I will take all the questions there. If you have something special, if suddenly the audio stops or you're having problems, you're more than welcome to also write it here in the question tab, and I have a colleague who will be able to write and help. If everything fails, you're more than welcome to call or write or support, and the email address and phone number is on our website at the bottom. Cool. So let's get cracking. I will just make sure that I have everything set up here. I have a very, very large IT setup here to be able to show my own phone to you, so you can actually see it from an employee perspective, and also, of course, an Actimo platform, so we can dive into it. But the first thing, I will just, a short introduction. We are past that now. What I will go into is some academy principles, where we'll talk a little bit about. This is basically the method that we could recommend you use when using the Actimo Academy. The largest chunk of this session will actually be in the platform, where I will show you a scenario of having some existing messages that has been used as trainings. And we're going to dive into it together and try to make sense of the chaos and actually put this into an academy in the best fashion possible. And I will show you two versions. I will show you a very simple way to do it, and I will also show you a version of how to level up. So basically how to take this to the next level. We'll end with a few tips and a Q&A, and then we're done in roughly 30 minutes. So I will speed up some of it so that we get done in around 30 minutes. And of course, you'll get the recording, so you can also dive into it on your own afterwards. But let's get cracking. That was the introduction. You all know me if you've seen a few of the latest webinars we've had. I'm the head of our customer success. So what we're really talking about, just to set the scene for the Actimo Academy, we're talking about an on-the-job trainer. We have much more communication about this that has been sent out, and I also recommend you watch some of the previous webinars we have. They are accessible on actimo.com/events if you want to dive more into the academy that's been released. But it's the on-job trainer for your non-disc employees, and it provides a next level mobile learning that merges with the flow of work. So it's really a very, very, very dedicated feature that should solve a ton of problems that you might experience training some of the employees that you're targeting. Some of the things that we focus on here is guided learning path. It's a very, very easy way to follow learning. So what you would be experiencing today in Actimo is you could create messages and you would have to do your own learning path. Academy takes care of all that for you, and you will see that in a minute. And we're also talking about engaging experiences, making it fun and playful. We're talking about insights, so really be able to view it as a funnel. So you can see how many of the employees are actually through this training, how well they're doing, which department is doing best, all the way down to an individual level. And lastly, it should be very, very flexible and very easy to set up. So that's some of the key elements that we hope you will experience with the Academy. And just a short mention of when we talk training, basically, you're not limited to only doing training with learning test skills. This is what you'll see me presenting today, but this could also be used in pre and onboarding. You could also use it just to build skills. You can use it to do learning paths like we talk about, employee journeys, competition, offboarding, you name it. there are literally tons of opportunities to use Academy, and you'll see why in a second, and how we can do this. So you're not only limited to how do you say, old school training, but really it's how you perceive to do it that will get you successful. So the next one here is just a reminder on our website, academy/events, actimo.com/events, and I have all these links at the end of the slide, so you don't need to remember. You'll be able to see a more deep dive into how to actually get started with Academy. It's a tutorial on how to use it. You'll also be able to see a lot more about these Academy principles that I'm going to show you now. So I highly recommend going there and checking out these past webinars that are on demand. When we talk our Academy principles, there's some principles that we have developed in Actimo, especially in customer success, where we focus on 3 key principles that we would like you to take with you into building academies. First of all, we're talking mobile learning. We're talking targeting non-desk employees that are on the go. So it means that everything you do should be very much following this principle of adapting to a mobile and something you can snack or consume on the go. Microlearning, that's very much with guided learning path. So we want people to have a completely clear path on where are they going, which direction are they going, and it should be very simple to consume also when you're on the go. The learning bites is something you'll see in a second. We're basically talking about dividing training into smaller bites so that it's much easier to consume. You never have to sit down for 30 minutes going deep into an old school e-learning, but you take it up in smaller bites, which will make it much easier for people to activate and learn on the go. And it's something like this. We believe it should be just in time, accessible, gamified, and personal. There's also a level of social here. So if you use our social wall, you can connect the two. We're also looking into microlearning. This is where we are talking about creating packages that last maximum 15 minutes. So you'll see this in a second. We have some sections you can use in Actimo. So basically creating chapters that are no more than 15 minutes. You should never force people or have them do anything that is more than 15 minutes, because then you break the flow of work that they might have when they're on the job. And of course, it should be engaging as well. The last one, when we talk bite-sized learning, I'll show you that when we actually built the Academy. This is where we're talking about taking stuff and putting it into smaller bites so that it's easier to consume on the go. So you don't have to go through 30 minutes in one, but you could go through smaller bites of 2 to 3 minutes. So that was the short introduction about the principles. I very much encourage you to dive deeper into this by looking at some of the past webinars that are dedicated to this exact purpose. But the reason why we are looking at it again today is because it has a very big impact of what we're going to do now. So let's take a look at migrating existing trainings into Academy in Actimo. Basically, the best way for me to do this is to actually show you an example of how it could look. And bear in mind, I don't know every single training case that you guys do, but I hope with the example I've created that you might see similarities that you can take over to your setting and implement as well. Basically, what I've done, I've built a case where I have a training on the solar system. I've been very inspired with the SpaceX launch lately, a little nerdy, so I thought that might be a good case. So imagine you wanted to train basics of the solar system. This is actually the case I've done. And what we're going to be looking into is first how to migrate existing training with 3 simple actions. So this is the very low-key go-to plan where you can take your trainings, you can put them into Academy, and it will work with these 3 actions. Next, we'll also show an example if we try to level up, as I mentioned. So first of all, we're going to be identifying the building blocks and assembling in a folder. So we're going to be looking at what messages is this training actually set up, how is it set up, and what are the building blocks. Then we're going to identify the structure around this. Is there a clear path that has been created? And do we need to clean up? Do we need to remove some stuff? And the last thing we're going to do is we're going to identify where is it located in the app we have. I'll show you my phone where you can see it. And then we're going to remove and maybe republish in an Academy. And we will also talk shortly about the data. But with these 3 actions, you should actually be able to take something existing and pack it into Academy. So let's try to dive into it here. And the next one you'll see here is when we level up. So there is a small chance I might need to re-log into my system here. Let's see how it goes. We have a lot of security on our systems and I haven't been on it for a while. So let's see. It seems like we were lucky. So what you're seeing now is actually all the academies that we have on this demo platform that I'm going to be using. But in your case, we're going to be looking at first identifying the building blocks that we have. And when I say building blocks, I am talking about messages, because whatever training you have had in the past, it will consist of some types of messages. And it might be very, very structured, or it might be a bit chaotic like you're seeing here. So I can see I have some folders and suddenly I have some quizzes. I have something start training. I have 2 training, 1 training 2. So, okay, this seems a bit chaotic. So in what I would like to do is I would like to assemble it and make sense of it all. So basically what I'm looking at is something that looks like you can start your training, you can do some training, and you can test your skills. For me to make sense of this, I like to put in a folder. So I'm going to create a folder called the solar system here. And I'm going to take these messages here and I'm going to pack them into this so I can start creating sense of what's actually going on. So let's take these messages here and put them into our solar system folder. 2 seconds. Here we go. So we have them marked. Let's put them in. So that was the first step, actually just collecting messages. I have oversimplified this so it makes sense, but what we can see here is that it's now a little bit easier to understand what is this actually about. And we've collected it and put it into a folder. It's also going to make it a lot easier later on to kind of see what's going on. The next step, we can also notice here that it's been published and there is a training here put. We can also see that there is 1 person who has done some already. I'll get back to that because that ties a little bit into the analytics. But for me, what's important is to understand the path that we have here. So there is a clear design path. So what I'm just going to do is I'm going to try to understand what has actually been happening with this one. You might already know, but maybe you're also taking over somebody else's work. So to understand this is what we're going to try to do. So I can basically see here, this looks like a start page where when you click this button, it's been set to go to training message 1. Okay, so it seems like somebody is actually starting here with the messages here and creating a somewhat path for this. I'm going to start already now to clean up, because what I know the Academy will do, it will handle everything about creating a path. So I'm actually going to start removing these buttons because there's no need to have them. So this will act as a simple front page here for the training, and you'll see that in a second. So what I'm actually going to do now is going to say the next part of this one was the training 1. Let's dive into this and now I'm going to try to understand what is the path here, because I'm going to need to know this afterwards. So here is a ton of text. I will get back to this when we level up, because you should also consider maybe to change the content. This is text equal to 1 minute of narrated video. So you can kind of see the video I'll show you later is going to be 3 minutes. So there are some learnings here, but for now I'm just going to say this is the simple one. So we're just going to remove the button and we're going to keep this nice and clean. I didn't check the button to see what was going next, but I know that it is a quiz here. So I'm just going to go and say quiz 1 here. Let's go and see. So there are some quizzes here. That's fine. We can see it here. We can also check, has this actually been taken by somebody? You will automatically be able to see this when we put it into our Academy. But what I can see here is it's actually been answered by 1 person here, opened. And we can see there are some answers. So there is already some data. And this is probably what you're going to be seeing with your existing trainings or messages, that they already have some data. And Academy will take care of this in a very, very nice way. So you don't need to worry about it. It's totally fine for when we pack it into the Academy. So let's see here if we can get my platform to play with me. Here we go. All right. So we've actually checked 3 out of the 5 messages now. So what I know will happen next is the training 2 here. So let's go and take a look at this one. Here we go. Yeah, so what we can see here is that there's a little more. There's actually a picture here. This is one that has been designed to talk a little bit. I can see it's actually talking a little bit about the planets here and some of the moons. So we can see it here. You could actually, this links to the quiz number 2. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the button here. And then we're going to say that is nice and clean, prepared for Academy. And now I only have one more to go. And I apologize if this seems like a tedious task, but it's very important that you go through these things because it will create the best experience for the employees that you are targeting. Let me just see here. Oops. 2 seconds, guys. I am just going to check my Wi-Fi connection and make sure everything is up here. Let's see. Otherwise, I'll try to log in and out again. Just hang on a second, guys. This is not what you want to experience in a webinar, so just hang on a second. I will get back to you shortly. 'Hope you can still hear me, and I hope you can also see my screen. It's good we're not farther away. It's all on our internal system, but this is what happens when somebody messes with the internal Wi-Fi when you're actually doing a webinar. So I apologize for that, and I hope you guys are ready to continue. We should be on our side. Can you just write me here in the chat if you can give me an all clear here? You can hear me and you can see the screen again. Yes, at least, yes. Cool. So apologies for the short interruption. Let's continue. The last part of what we're doing was, I believe, checking the quiz number 2 here. So let's just see here. All right. So what we can see here is we actually have some of the quizzes we've done here, and we have the button. So I am going to go ahead and remove this button because I know that doesn't do much. So the first part has been done. We have identified the blocks. We have gone through the structure and cleaned up, removed any existing buttons, and only kept it to visual aids, text, video, quiz, etc., and removed some of the navigation buttons that I had put in. So this was the button that actually before would handle what the Academy is going to do for us now. So the last thing we should do is identify the location and maybe consider unpublishing if not needed, because we're going to be doing this publishing from the Academy. So what I would prefer to do now is to actually unpublish this. So you should be able to see my phone here. What you can see is actually the start training. That's the message we had in here that has actually been published to a feed that is live on my app. So what I want to do now is I want to pack this into Academy, and I want to remove this start message that kind of did training for me before. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go and remove the category I have on start training. And in a sense, what this will do is it will remove it from the feed, because my feed on the front page of my app is set to take messages in that has been published to people and that it has this category. So if I remove this, you should be able to see that this app will change. Let's see. And now we don't have any Academy here. What I'm going to do soon is I'm going to pack this into Academy, and then I'll publish it in a new way, and you'll be able to see it again. Bear in mind, you can also go to Analytics and go down at the bottom of the page to remove total access from people by unpublishing. But in a sense, all this is not connected to a feed, and it's not connected to the app via any buttons or anything. So the next part here is actually to repackage this in Academy. And I'll show you how to do this when we dive into it here. So what I need to do is to create a new Academy. We see a ton of existing Academies here, and I'm going to go ahead and create a new one. And let's give it a name. 2 seconds. I'm having a note here. We're going to call it Learn the Basics of this Solar System here. So what we can do now is we can add a picture to it if we want to. For now, I'm just going to leave these out because I'll show you these when we level up in the next thing. So for now, I'm going to keep it very simple and click confirm, and then I'll show you when we do the level up version. What we basically come into now is the builder for academies. It's a very simple setup that resembles what you know from our message composer with the design, publish, analytics. I'm not going to go deeply into actually what everything does here, because you can watch the previous webinar on how to get started with Academy if you want to have a deeper look. I've also linked to a help desk article in the end of the slides that will show you step by step. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to use some of the principles that we learned. So I'm going to say that first, we actually have a section about the moon here. So what I might add is I'm going to say moon 101 here, and we can let people test it. What I'm then going to do is I'm going to take all the trainings that I had. So basically the structure that I had is that I had one training, one quiz, one training, one quiz. And I want to put this into different sections so that it becomes very easy to consume for the individuals. So I'm going to use some of these bytes and some of these chapters or sections to do that. So the first thing I want to do is I want to connect the training. I basically just click the training I had. What I can do now is I can add the quiz because I want these two to be connected. So I'm going to look for the quiz 1 here, and then we're going to pack it in. What I could do is continue here to say, let's do another training and another quiz. This is basically up to you how much you want to pack into it, and I'll show you how it looks for an end user in a second, so an employee. But what I'm going to try to do now is I'm going to try to say, well, we also had the sun 101 here, and we're going to pack it into here. So basically some of these elements is what we're going to pack into here. The reason why I'm saying is the sun and the moon here is because I know that the trainings here were about that. There was something about first the moon, and then there's something about the sun. So I'm really also trying to give it a name that makes sense for people instead of training 2 and quiz 2, etc. So what we're going to pack in here is the next 2, and then we're going to publish it. So it's actually fairly simple. You clean up the existing structure and content you have, and then you pack it into an academy like so, with sections and trainings, and then you republish it again. So it's actually fairly simple, and you can follow the progress here. What you could consider doing is actually to add some new message titles so that it become a bit more inspiring. But I'm going to show you how to take this to the next level right after, so I'm not going to do it now. The next thing is basically publishing it. What you would often like to do is to test it before everybody else. And what you need to do to test this best is to do what I'm going to do now. You can always preview it here, but I would recommend you test it. So you all know that you can publish stuff in feeds to people, and you can send out to a group of people. What I'm going to do now is I'm only going to publish this academy to myself. So I'm going to find my own contact here. I have an app with a feed I can publish it to. So I'm going to add a category here. I know that the feed that I have on my front page is using this training, and I'm not going to send it because I have access to my app right in front of me. So I'm just going to publish it, and then I'm going to actually go through it and see what happens. What it does now is it jumps to the analytics page, and I'll show you in a second how this is. There's a quick mention here that's quite important. Remember, I showed you that a person had already gone through some of this content. So we had 2 messages where a person had actually done this before. And what the Academy does, it recognizes that Stefan has already taken this quiz. He's already consumed some of the content, and then it actually adapts to this. So the reason why this doesn't start at 0 is that I have already gone through a little bit of this training material. I believe I think I watched the training and the quiz. So this is actually being accounted for, and it's a very, very neat feature for you guys who have been running a lot of training. You don't have to be considered or concerned about, losing progress, losing trainings. All this will just be adapted into the Academy, and the Academy does this by looking at if it's a message with a quiz, then it looks when a quiz is finished. If it's with a button, then it looks when it has a confirm button when that is done. If there is only text or video on a message, then it will automatically say that you have progressed this when you get to the page. So it actually handles all of this for you also in the past. You don't need to worry about that. But let's have a look at the phone, see what we can see. So I'm going to try to do a refresh here, and we're going to see what happens. So basically now in my feed, I have an Academy. I can easily see my progress, and I can go in and start using this again. So let's go into it. You can see here I had some trainings. I had some quiz that I could go through, and basically this is what will happen. You can see that it automatically, you might remember I removed and cleaned up all the navigation buttons that we might have, all the extra ones that led to other stuff. I did that because the Academy automatically takes over and lets you exit a training and complete a training. So I can easily do this, and what the Academy will do, you can see it moving in the background here, it will automatically handle all this for you. So if I return here, you can now see that we're on 50%, and we could jump into the next section. So this is basically how you can take your existing trainings and pack it into a new learning experience where the Academy will take care of the hard parts for you. So basically, this is how it looks, and you can start doing it on your own. So the next thing we need to talk about is actually, well, how do we do this when we talk in a bit larger scale? How can we actually do this? So what I'm going to try to show you is how we can level up on this Academy, because if you already are building, you might consider doing a bit more. So if we jump back to our slides here, what we're going to be looking into now is more this one. So I've added 2 extra steps here. You will still need to do the 3, but what I want to look into now is actually identifying the content, and I want to rebuild it, because I have a chance now to not having a page with a ton of text, maybe add some video, maybe add some user experience to it. So I'm going to try to show you, this is where we go into the TV kitchen, because I've been cheating a little bit and created this beforehand. So what you'll see here is that I have an Academy already built, where the content is built. It's exactly the same where you just saw. I have just leveled up on some of the content and the path here. When we say level up, it's inspiration from what our CEO often says when we need to take it to the next level. So it's a very Actimonian term that we use a lot. Basically, what I mean is this is the way where you can create a better experience for employees, and you can take your training to the next level. So what I actually done here is I've taken the same message you saw before. I have given them much more easy to understand titles so that it will make sense what you're actually diving into. I've created a tutorial as the first part because I want people to understand what they're in for. So the first thing I want people to meet in this Academy is actually a tutorial page where it tells you a little bit about what you're in for. It says in this Academy, what will you learn? It also gives you a learning objective, so it comments on what is it actually you'll be able to understand when you've taken this. It helps people understand what they're in for. I've also put the total estimated time. Bear in mind, I've only put trainings for the sun and the moon. There's tons more training that could be put in if we're going into the solar system. But what I put here is I've said roughly the whole thing should take you 30 minutes. I've also put that each chapter, this is when we build sections, will take 8 to 10 minutes. So I'm trying to use our principles and say you will never have to go further than 8 to 10 minutes. That is something you can do later on. So what I've put it here, I put an action. This is a confirm button that you find over here. And I want people to do an action to begin. And then the Academy will take over. So the next one, you remember we had a training with a ton of text. So what I actually did when I was building this is I thought to myself, well, let's take a look at and show people what text versus video can actually do. So this is a 3-minute video from YouTube based on the moon. It's very cool how much you can find, also in terms of something that is more similar to what you'll be training people on. There's a ton about safety at work and COVID and GDPR and all kinds of stuff that you can just borrow. My point here is that before I had one page with a lot of text, and I'll just show you because this is very, very important. So instead of using this text page here, what I did yesterday, I transcribed 1 minute of this 3-minute video. So you're looking at 1 minute and it's only the narration, there's no visuals. So to get the same experience, this is 1 minute. You can imagine if I did 3 minutes of this video, it would be 3 times as much text here. And you can then imagine what you would provide in front of the employees. Would you prefer a 3-minute video like this, or would you prefer 3 times this? So it kind of explains itself, but I really want you guys to consider to use video or audio aids. It's a much better experience and it's very, very cool. So I put this video in instead, and I'm trying to align with people. What is it you're in for? The video is only 5 minutes long, and I've put it here. So next thing is the quiz itself. This is the part where I've actually not done much because it worked okay before. I've added the quizzes here. I put in, again, the learning objectives, the time here. So I want people to understand that this is only a 2-minute exercise to do these. And I'm going to put this right after. What I could consider doing, and I could consider adding some explainer text so that when people answer, it might give a little bit more learning. And there's a small spoiler here because you're looking at an update to the quiz module that you will see from Monday on. So you guys are the first ones. The next part is the next training here, and that is about the sun we've had here. And this is where I also found a video, and I've done the same as before. So what I've done here is I've done much better content. I've tried to align learning objectives, estimated time, and I'm trying to use titles and a structure that gives people a much better experience. So let's try to see when we pack this into the Academy and how it looks for an end user. So let's jump into our Academy and create a new one. So we will go and give this a title. Let's call it level up so we can see the difference here. Yep. This time I'm also gonna add a picture. So I have this cool picture of the universe. We'll see how it looks when it gets in here. And I'm also gonna actually add a description. So you will see the difference between these in a second. Let's see. Here we go. So I have added chapter time here. So this is some of the info you also saw before, but I want to add it to the description of the actual Academy. So let's just make sure it's nice and clean here. So let's add the Academy and then we'll take it. So let's see here. All right. What we're going to be looking at here, we'll do the same as before. So we'll say the moon. Actually, we will start with the tutorial section here. And we're going to take our tutorial training into this one. So if the only thing people do, it will be to look at the tutorials here. 2 seconds. I just need to jump into my level up content here. So we'll put in the tutorial. Yes. And what we could do now is create a new section where we says this is the moon 101. So right now I'm doing much of the same stuff that I'm doing before, and I'm just grabbing some of the content that I have taken up to another level. So let's just see here. This will take a minute to do, and then we should be there. So let me continue. So what we need to do, the last thing here, is to put a section here, and you will get to see the experience very shortly. There's a last comment I would like to make about, you might know this already, but there's a comment here when you build these things about quizzes and retakes, and what you can do, what the Academy will automatically do, it will allow you to do some settings on retakes, and it will allow you to do some settings on the quizzes. So the point here is that you want people to be able to continue this on your own. You don't want them to get stopped and having to reach out to you. So what you can do is that you can control some settings on how should this work with unlocked. I'm gonna just say that everything is unlocked here. You can also work with some stuff on passing score and different things here. And I highly recommend that you go into it and test it yourself and watch the previous webinars. But my point here is also that you can, on the individual message, actually look into doing retakes. So when you build quizzes here, you can do retakes. I would highly recommend that you use the retake functions that we have under the publish. So every time you add a quiz, it's important that it's that you have a possibility to actually do a retake. And let me just try to spend a second on showing you guys so that you know exactly what I'm talking about. So I'm gonna go into the message I have with a quiz, and I'm gonna allow for a retake. The point here is that people should be able to test themselves. If they fail up to the passing score we've done, it should be possible maybe at a later stage to actually do it again. So underneath the publish pages here, you'll be able to see it. And when we put this into Academy, the Academy will automatically allow retakes every 5 minutes as standard. So it's something that's gonna happen. But I would recommend you also take a look at it, because you might want different options. But people need to be able to go through this and not be stopped. But let's jump back to our Academy here, publish it, and then we're also close to the end of what we're going to be looking into. I will just open for a bit more here, and then we can go through it. Here we go. It was me. I didn't look under L here. That's why I couldn't find it. So we're ready now to publish it. I'm going to do exactly like I did before. We're going to go here. We're going to find myself, and then we're going to be looking at adding a category. And as soon as we publish it, it should be in our session. So let's see here. Let's hit it. So I'll zoom a bit so you can see better. Let's take a look at the phone again here. So we should be able to see a new Academy here. And suddenly you can see it has a picture, it has a description, and it generally looks a lot better. And basically you'll be able to see now that some of the description we've put in here and some of the progress. So this is when we take it a step further. The only thing we've done is actually to change a little bit in titles and a little bit in video, using video and stuff, some pictures. So it's not much, but it gives a totally different experience. So I'm going to try to go through this, and this is what you can see. I want people to confirm. We can go through next training here. We have the video that I could start. I could then turn my phone and start watching a little bit about the moon here. Once I felt I knew what to do, I could complete training and go to the next thing here. We are now 40% in. I could start answering some questions. That's correct. Let's see if I know my sci-fi stuff here. And we have a bit about the sun here. And let's just see if we can do the last things here. Yes, correct. And I know this is hydrogen. Cool. So now we're actually through here with our Academy, and we are now at 100%. You can see that it will adapt to this also at the top. This is because I've connected it to our profile in admin, where you can have this insight module called progress, and you can put it in. You can also change the name to something making more sense. The reason why it's saying 75 is because I haven't completed the other one 100%. So this is basically what I wanted to show you guys when we talk about migrating trainings into Academy. Bear in mind, this could also be an onboarding flow. It could be an Academy or two in as part of an onboarding flow. And the opportunities you have to here are really limitless. So tailor it into what you need. But I highly recommend using some of the best practices that we have around the principles that we put. So let's just go to the last part of our webinar here. And again, I apologize, you were paused for a second, but I hope you still got something out of our webinar today here. I have a few tips I want to share with you. You can also take a look at it your own, but I highly recommend you take the time to level up. Basically, find some videos instead of text. There is literally thousands and millions of videos on YouTube just that will help you. I found exactly what I needed for this, and I checked. There is a ton of stuff on everything that you might also be interested in. I needed a video on washing hands last week, and there are thousands of videos how to do that in relation to the coronavirus. Make sure that your academies don't take more than 15 minutes or 5 minutes per training. At least consider the bite size of this. You might have an academy that lasts 30 minutes, but then be very, very, very clear on the expectations with people and build it into these chapters using the sections that you have. So it align with people that it's okay to not take it in one go, but you can come back later on. It's very, very easy to see in Actimo, because if we use the function you saw in the insight module, it actually takes people back. Use videos, GIFs, pictures. There's a lot of content available. I've put a list for you guys below here that you can dive into, and it's copyright free, the list I have, so you don't need to worry about using this content. Build an Actimo and keep on one page. As you saw, I actually didn't put anything in multiple pages. So only use multiple pages if you have a 20 question survey and you want to build it up into different sections. But basically what people are used to is scrolling. So there's no need to build a ton of pages. Just keep it in one and let people take it from the top and move on down. That's how all social sites and news sites, everything works today. Align expectations. I really love the learning objective and the time duration because it sets expectations. So people can take a training later on if they know they have to go in 5 minutes, or if it's only 2 minutes, they might be able to do it now. But there's nothing worse going completely without expectations heading into a training, because you don't know what you're actually supposed to do or what time it will do. A last tip is to make it searchable after training. What you could do is add the whole academy to a feed and let people search for it. What I would recommend doing is actually only taking the training, so only the part with the learning, the videos and the text, and putting that searchable for maybe a special guide feed afterwards. Because when you jump into the academy, you might have to, you might get into first going through this whole process again. So you could consider just taking the messages with training, give them a category called guide. And when people have gone through them, they will be available in a special support or guide feed. The last thing here, some relevant links you can go through before we get to the Q&A. This is basically where you can find a manual on building academies. You can see the webinar, the training session on demand, where I actually go a bit deeper into how to build an academy. You can understand the principles. All these sessions are available on demand or on actimo.com/events. And I've also linked to them in the slides that will be sent afterwards. So here are some free content sites. Try them out. They are amazing. Unsplash is pictures. Flat icon, that's a lot of icons. GIF is Giphy. Pexel has everything. And you can do some graphic tools you can download on this free page. And you can also do youtube.com, of course, if you want video. So any questions, reach out to our support. Bear in mind, if you suddenly don't find yourself to have Academy in your platform right now, reach out to our support and we'll connect you with account management and either get it for you or see what's up. I'll jump into some Q&A now. So I have some questions here I can see. The only one I can really see is here, what happens when I remove a participant from the Academy. And I can actually show you, it's quite simple. If you remove somebody from an Academy, it's basically like unpublishing a message. So let me just jump into my Academy here. You can see in Academy, I can go and to publish here. And let's imagine I wanted to remove myself. I can manage recipients. And then I can say, Stefan, we are going to unpublish for you. And this is what will happen. So basically, it will look at me like I was never there. So it will reset or at least remove the analytics and everything. What I can just do is publish to me again, and then it will know that I went through the messages, and it will be the same as before. So let's imagine you come to a scenario where you want a clean slate. Basically, what you would need to do is you would need to duplicate the messages that we had and then put them in. So if you want this clean slate with brand new statistics and a clean slate for everybody that goes in, then you need to duplicate the messages first and then build an academy with fresh messages that has not been published before. Let's see here. And then there is a question. There was a question what happens when we add them again. I think I just commented on that one. Otherwise, right? There's a put question in the other tab. Yes, it's also good. I'm looking at the chat and not the question here. Yeah, thanks for that. So if I have a training that is live today with a quiz with 10 questions, can I split the questions up to 2 quizzes without losing data? And the answer for this is no. Yeah, you will still have the data, but you cannot do it so that it will understand it, because that data will be tied into one message. What you can do here is that you can duplicate the message, split it up to 2 new messages and then add it to Academy. And for any future person, it will be, as it should be. But for existing people, there's really nothing we can do to do that. If you want to, you could consider creating an academy with that 10 question thing and only publish that one to people who have done it in the past. So you mean you build one academy for the past with them, and you build a new academy for new people. That is something you can do, and you can write our support if you want a deeper insight into that. But that might be the best solution for this specific question here, because it will give the best experience for people who have done it in the past, and it will give the best experience for new people who have to take it. And the last year, why can't I choose a photo from my photo archive in the backend? And this is simply because it hasn't been added yet. So this is product feedback I will send forward. What I believe is asked here is, why can't I, like if I do a picture, why can't I access the content library here? So the solution here is to actually download the picture, and then you can add it. And what I will do is, of course, I will pass this on to our product team, who can look at this and come with a solution in the future. So that is the answer for that one. So I apologize again that we got a little bit delayed. You will all get the recording. You will all get the slides that we have available here. And if there's no further questions, as far as I can see, then I will stop it for now. And I really want to thank you guys for joining and tuning in on this academy. It's a pleasure to show you, and we're really proud of the new feature we have. If any questions arise later on, please just write our support, get in touch with us, and we will help you out. Also, if you have something that we haven't considered or some feedback like what we just saw here. So thank you very much for tuning in, and write us if you have something, also if there's an issue with the recording on the slide. And otherwise, I hope you have a fantastic day, and see you next time. Bye-bye.